What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today is season 8, episode 4, and I have a special treat for you all. So I went to see one of my favorite piano players in Annapolis, Maryland in December of 2023, and Sahara Moon opened the show, and she absolutely blew our minds, me and my family. So immediately after the show, we cornered her, and I was like, you got to come on my show and talk about your pathway through music. So Sahara, thank you for doing this. I appreciate you.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for having me today.
Totally. So I have a
Yeah,
question that I always ask everybody. That's the first thing out of my mouth is,
okay.
what is your earliest musical memory?
Oh, my earliest musical memory? I would say the earliest musical memory that I have is I can't remember what year it is, but I was in my grandmother's house and my whole family was there, and my family wanted me to sing, and I was so shy and nervous, but I did it, and I turned my back to everyone and faced the wall, and I sang one of Florence and the Machine's songs called,
Nice.
I think it was called the Bird Song. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was one of my like earliest memories. I feel like I haven't ever gotten that question, so that's a good one.
I find it's like the catalyst to everything, and
That's true.
it's kind of interesting because I hear so many different responses to that, but primarily, and this is kind of funny, a lot of the times it's like grandmothers or grandfathers that are like involved in it some way, shape, or form. But so you come from a musical family, right?
I do. It's just my sister and I. We're both, also we're pursuing careers in music. My family is pretty musical though. Like my mom loves to sing, and my dad has always played guitar and had interest in like other things. And he's got books full of songwriting notebooks from when he was younger. So it's kind of just been something that I was introduced early on growing up, and yeah.
Okay. So did you learn guitar via your dad, or did you get lessons and he was like, don't study with me, study with someone else?
I learned in the beginning. I was 16 when I got my first guitar. So I kind of took it upon myself to like look up how to start playing. Like I learned different chord structures, and my dad and I would kind of go through them and learn together. He taught me some things, and then I would kind of learned some other things on my own. So I kind of used him as a mentor during that time and learned a lot, through my dad. And then together we did some like group classes, which were really fun. Just getting to dive into like a little bit of theory and different techniques on guitar. And that's pretty much like how I started learning from the instrument, just, you know, from my dad and a couple other folks throughout the way that like showed me cool things that I implemented into my performing.
Okay. Did you find that, and this is, I mean, as a Berkeley dude, everybody has
Yeah.
like different, perspectives on this, but did you find that like learning the theory stuff kind of help inform the way you approach writing when you started writing and everything? Because I find
Uh,
it's like you can have a great ear and get by just fine, but knowing a bit helps a lot.
I definitely agree. It's good to have in your toolkit, like to access it. Sorry, I have a train that's going by, so
Love love
you might
trains.
hear a little bit of it. Um, I feel like theory is a good thing to have available, but personally, like I'm not theory based with the music that I make. I have fragmented bits and pieces of theory. So I feel like it doesn't matter all that much. Like I kind of am more of like a ear, what like my ear goes straight towards something that I like, and I could be like, oh, I don't really know what this chord is, and I could figure it out and all of that. But Yeah, I'm not super theory
Right.
focused,
That's fine.
but
Because the reason I ask is because your songs, like listening to you play that day, I was kind of struck by, well, first by your voice. Your voice is just so, it's immediately like palpable and grabs the audience kind of thing. At least I felt that way. And I'm
thank
like,
you.
yeah, of course. But I found that like listening to your music, how you were arranging and constructing and like the way your harmony was moving, was intelligent, and it was like voice leading and a lot of cool stuff that was happening. And
Thank you.
then, on top of that, the bass player that was playing with you, you guys just sounded like you'd been playing together forever. And I know I asked you that. I was like, is he like a sub, or is, and like, no, we've been playing. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, it's funny because I've been playing with an incredible upright bassist. His name's Ray Bone. We've been playing together since 2018, which is, I don't know, like 5 years ago or
mhm.
so. And it's funny because he's actually a doctor in music. He has his PhD as within, like, so he's just phenomenal with theory. He is a professor as well and teaches like music and all of that stuff. So back in 2018, when we connected to do our first gig, um, he was extremely like theory based, and here I am, like little me, like trying to express like my songs, and I'm kind of just like, I don't know what you should play, but whatever sounds good to you, like that's what I want you to play.
Right.
So it was a learning curve, like from his background and my background. And then all these years later, I feel like, something has just clicked where it's really fluent with the two of us, like on stage, which I'm really grateful for. But it's been a journey. It's been cool, and it's just funny to see the extreme dynamic of both of our backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a level of telepathy that I was witnessing for a little bit, I felt like. Now, did you guys
Yeah,
meet in the Northeast? Like, this is pre-Nashville kind of thing?
this is pre-Nashville,
Okay.
definitely. I started performing in 2016 in a small town of Little Egg Harbor, which is right off the coast of Long Beach Island. And from a series of shows that I, started out there, that's how we kind of met. I met different people. I got recommended to Ray, and yeah, we connected out in New Jersey. And I've kind of just taken him on the road with me anytime I've got shows since then. So
Yeah, that's so
yeah,
cool. I love that. So you guys met through like mutual friends and stuff like that.
yeah,
I love that. I love that. It's so cool when like a community of musicians can like almost like envision two people working really well together, and when it really works well, it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. It's like that kind of vibe. Anytime that connection can happen, like
yeah,
via friends putting you together, it's just such a beautiful thing. I love stories like that.
yeah,
Let me ask you, so okay, so growing up, playing guitar, so 16, right, playing guitar,
yeah.
but before that, were you always singing?
No,
Really?
I was not. I was very shy.
Mm,
I tried to focus on sports. That's not my thing. I love being active and outside and all of that, but I was a very shy person, I feel like, growing up. So I was more introverted, and I would write my songs like in my songwriting notebook, but I would not like disclose them to anybody. I never
mm,
shared them to many people. And up until that time that I was with my family, when they like urged me to sing, um, that's kind of when I broke out of my shell a tiny bit. And my sister, Zinnia Moon, she has inspired me in a lot of different ways too, because she had a little bit of a different story. Like she was always singing, like 24/7, since the time she was like a little tiny baby. And she like in her younger years was involved with like musical theater and everything. So she kind of inspired me to step out into that performance realm at an early, like when I was in high school. I did some like plays in my high school. So that kind of inspired me to like I really found a passion with the performance of musical theater, and just I was always in the ensemble. That was just really cool to be a part of and learn a lot of, different so I feel like that inspired me a lot to break out of my shell and not be so shy. Um, but I was not super musical in my early years.
Yeah, but it was translates well though, because if you're doing musical theater, like you have this control over your voice that kind of trained projecting musical theater people have, that like I didn't grow up doing that. So it's like I grew up listening to grunge. I mean, that was my
Yeah.
youth. So it's like, I had to like find soul music and stuff like that later. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this is like Ray Charles is what touches me, So it's
Yeah.
like that stuff translates pretty well though to how you perform now, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like I that was a short time in my life. Like I did only a couple of musicals, and I feel like being a part of like the community was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, but I definitely like grew up listening to like all different kinds of stuff, a lot of jam bands and yeah.
Stop there, because you're in my wheelhouse now. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about that, because like
I
I grew up listening to Fish and the Grateful Dead and Mo,
okay.
and all right. So
S
tell me more.
Yeah, I think my first concert that I ever went to with my parents was a Rusted Roots concert.
Okay.
I think I was maybe 1 or 2 or something like that, and yeah, I've kinda grown up on the Grateful Dead and, not so much Fish, but Susan Tedeschi, like the Tedeschi Trucks Band. They have like a lot of jam inspired momentum in their
Mhm.
performances as well. So of course that has inspired like a lot of, you know, energy into like what I do as well.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I didn't know that about you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're already way cool in my book, but now you're even cooler. Um, it's hard. You don't often run into people. So I mean, I'm 44. I'm obviously older than
Okay.
you, but like I don't run into a lot of people when I do this show that like jam band music or like improvisational music or any of that. So it's like anytime I can connect with somebody about that, because I
Yeah.
had Trey's guitar tech on here from Fish,
Okay. All
and
right.
we've become friends and we text all the time now, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't even believe I talked to this dude. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
because I grew up like this little hippie kid in high school, going to these jam band shows, going to see Fish, but then the next weekend I'd go see Pearl Jam, and I was like so
Yeah.
open-minded. So what other stuff were you listening to besides that?
uh like back then I listened to Adele a lot. I'm trying to think. I loved Feist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think who else. I feel like Nora Jones has always been a staple of my musical influences. She's just incredible. Even to this day, like Nora Jones continues to inspire me in a lot of ways. So yeah, I feel like those like Nora Jones probably was like my main influence and inspiration musically.
Okay. I can see that now.
Yeah.
I can see that a little bit. I mean, you totally have your own fingerprint, in terms of like as a songwriter and a singer, but I can see that a little bit. Um, okay, so let me ask you, from guitar, do you play piano too?
Mhm. I don't know.
Okay.
I can like dabble with it, but I don't play that professionally.
Okay. Um, so let's talk a little bit about I want to talk about songwriting, because I haven't had many
Okay.
shows where we kind of focus on the craft of that, and sometimes pulling back the curtain a little bit on how that stuff works is very interesting for people that maybe don't do it.
Mhm.
But talk to me a little bit more. So Nora Jones was kind of maybe a catalyst for you to jump into this stuff and start writing more. Did
Okay.
you did you find any of those the stuff that you were writing down in your book, like lyrics and stuff, did any of that materialize into like music with lyrics?
I think so. Yeah. Like
Okay.
when I like, are you talking like when I was younger, just starting out?
Right, when you were just writing lyrics and like coming up with songs, and once you started playing, did
Yeah.
that stuff kind of come out of the book, out of the pages into your hands kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a handful of like that I used to perform a lot more than I do now. But yeah, I would say once I started like playing the guitar, that opened up so many different avenues of being inspired and everything. So a lot of the lyrics that I did write, like I figured out a way to like connect them with a progression that I felt was like suitable, and yeah, I started performing in that way.
Okay. And who else like kind of has, I don't know, seeped into your soul to kind of inspire you to write music? Because I don't know, you can tell me how you feel about this.
Yeah.
If I don't listen to like music for a while and then I go back and listen to something and it really inspires me, a bunch of songs will come out. Does that happen for you?
Um I am not sure, to be honest. I feel like my repertoire is maybe a little bit limited or like small compared to others. So
How so?
I feel like I don't explore. I mean, this is a little crazy being an artist and all, but I kind of like stay in a my realm of like what I enjoy listening to more so than like branch out all the time and like try to discover a
Hmm.
whole plethora of more music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So my yeah, my like what I listen to is a little bit more scaled down probably than what you listen to.
Well, different
But
strokes for different folks, right?
yeah, so yeah, my repertoire is a little tiny, a little small.
Well, you know what's
But,
interesting? So, like, did you hear that new Billy Joel song that he put out?
with Casey Musgraves
No, it's a
or
brand
wait, that
new.
was Elton John.
Yeah, so
No, I
Billy.
haven't heard that song yet.
Okay, so like I am like in love with this song. Like the first time I heard it, and he only
Okay.
put it out like right. I was like right before the Grammys, so only a couple weeks ago.
What's it called? Do you know?
Turn the lights back on.
Okay. I haven't listened to this one yet. Yeah.
Oh man, it when I first heard it, I mean, he hasn't released a new song in 30 years. Like for a long time, he was like, "I'm never writing again," and people were like, "Why? We
Mhm.
want to hear music." Which is funny because like I always when I met Gabe the first time, I thought he was might have been a huge Billy Joel fan.
Yeah.
Only to realize, no, he's more of an Elton fan, which I was
Yeah.
like, "That's so funny." But this song, when I first heard it, I was like, "Oh, this sounds like somebody trying to write like Billy Joel almost." And then they put out a video for it, and it's like the whole deep fake thing of like the
Mm.
different eras of his career. So young Billy Joel singing that song, and then like
Huh.
next decade kind of thing. But it is like one of the most simplistic, beautiful, like just heart-wrenching songs. And it has so many
Mhm.
layers to it in terms of like how you can interpret the lyrics and everything. I just lost my dad in September, so maybe that's like
Oh, no.
something that's bringing up too, you know. But like when I heard that, it made me sit at the piano and it made me start to kind of because I never realized how much Billy Joel writes. I'm not a very religious dude, but like the
Yeah.
way he writes is very hymn like. A lot of leading tones, a lot of like gospel-y type stuff in his left hand, like different bass notes are under the chord.
Right.
And this is no exception to that, but it's like it makes you realize, the breadth of someone's career, obviously. I mean, he's what's in his 70s now. So,
Yeah.
but the fact that he's still writing, it's like gives all of us hope that we can still be doing it and still be relevant and still or even for our own selves. Who cares what everyone else thinks? But like
Yeah.
um I just find that fascinating. And like when you're writing, when you sit down, do you have because I don't know, do you drive in the car and you'll hear a melody in your head and then you go home and you're like, all right, I gotta figure this out.
I feel like only a couple times that's happened to me, but most of the time, I'll be in I've written a lot of my song, like some of my most favorite songs in the bathroom
Me
back
too.
home in New Jersey. For whatever reason, not, like I'll sit on the floor and it's just like a soothing environment. Like the window light comes in like in a nice way and it's just like nice acoustics, obviously. And I don't know, like for whatever reason, like that has inspired. I have to hash this out right now, like the like area of the house where I like sit and like really focus for a good 45 minutes or so or more, depending on how long it takes me. But I feel like in those
Mhm.
moments, the song kind of just pours out pretty fast anyway. So, you know,
What's the fastest you've written a tune?
uh,
Like, the when it just, like, lightning struck kinda thing, you think?
maybe within like a half hour, I would say, or so.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah,
tend to
because
be like, how do those happen, you know what I mean? It's just like
I don't know. I wish there was like a secret formula for them
I
to like
know.
trigger them.
'Cause do you have any
But
songs right now that have been you started a year ago that you haven't finished or 2 years ago, and, like, are you gonna
yeah,
revisit them, or are you like, "Ugh"?
I have it's funny because I feel like I don't have as many like I feel like when I think about like my catalog of music, I don't have that many songs, but then I'll like say that out loud to somebody else and they're like, "Oh, like that's not a lot." And then I'm like, "Oh wait, like I have all of these songs that I never have like that are written. Like I have so many just pieces, bits and pieces and like finished songs, but I've never like taken them on the road and like performed them live or anything." So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot that haven't seen the light of day,
Mhm.
but not that they aren't special in their own way, but you know,
Do you use your sister at all as, like, a sounding board?
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like especially lately, we've been like bouncing ideas back and forth to each other and um, you know, just like, oh, like, does this sound good or does this suck? Or,
Have you guys
so
collaborated and co-written anything together?
we have co-written a little bit in the past. We do have a song that we're hoping to release this coming spring, but it's definitely like a work in progress. But we would like to have a collaborative piece that we release onto like streaming platforms sometime soon. So, yeah,
Nice, nice. I mean, that's gotta be fun to like, anytime I hear about people that have, like, a sibling or a
yeah,
musical kinda connection with your family, because I didn't have that growing up, but,
yeah,
that's so cool that you guys can share that together and, and use each
yeah,
other as a guide through, like, "Do I thi this is cool, right? This thing sounds cool, or does it not?" You know?
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
rad.
she's been really awesome, and it's nice for I feel like I've paved my way in, like, my musical journey. She's definitely, like, taking a different route, um, but it's nice to, like, have somebody to, go through the motions with as well, and just I'm grateful for that, and it's very supportive with the 2 of us, so I'm grateful for our relationship as well, like, within music.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Talk to me a little bit about, like, the how Nashville happened and, like, how you left Jersey, because that's
Yeah.
that's a big I mean, it's admirable for people to kinda, like, take a risk and go do something,
Mhm.
like, so were things going well in the Northeast and you're like, "You know what? I think I need to be in a place that is, like, the pulse of music is there?" Like, what was your mind thought? Like,
Yeah.
your thoughts there?
Yeah, I feel like I decided to move to Nashville once I reached a certain point throughout the tri-state region. At that time, it was 2021, which, was just after the pandemic and things were just starting to open up again. Um, and I kind of had reached a certain point of like traveling and touring, to an extent that I was proud of and like happy with. So I kind of, there was a part of me that like wanted to seek elsewhere and like find other communities that I can start exploring and being a part of. And I just kind of wanted to be immersed like 100% in community. So actually, the producer that I worked with back in 20, he kind of shone a light onto like moving out to Nashville or LA. He was like, you know, you really should consider making that move if you know, want to continue progressing and growing. And it was definitely like a difficult decision for me because I'm super close to my family. That I feel like that's a huge part of like who I am. I don't feel like that'll ever go away. So I always am like looking for an excuse to come back to the East Coast in order to like go spend time with my family and all. But yeah, I decided to move out to Nashville, and I kind of wasn't hesitant on that decision. I just was like, I have to do this if I want to grow as a person, even, and an artist. So I've been here for, I'm going on my third year in Nashville, and I'd say it's been all good experiences. I've grown a lot as an artist, because of the decision to move here. And there is a great community of artists and, of course, music and all of that. So,
So it's
yeah.
all working out.
Yeah, I would
How,
say so.
yeah. How did you meet Gabe?
Well, it's funny. I met Gabe in New Jersey, actually.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
I got put on a show for the Sundown Music Series in Camden County last August. And yeah, that was just a really incredible show to be a part of. That was the first time I got to hear Gabe live. So from there, he liked what he heard. He was like, "Oh, we should reconnect." And then he invited me on his tour in December of 2023. So that's kind of how that progressed. And that's how I met him. I'm very grateful that I did, because that's, you know, that show introduced me to his music. And I feel like listening to Gabe's performances like every single night while on that tour, just, he's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's one of my all-time like favorite musicians out there as well.
Easily. Yeah, easily. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the full package. I
Yeah.
would
And
I was like, "Oh, maybe Sahara's gonna come out and do Further the Sky at our sh,"
uh
and I know you
he
guys
did.
did. Yeah, I know you did on certain shows, not that show,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
I was
It
like, "Oh,
was
man."
it was a spur of the moment thing. Like he kind of, a couple of shows, like maybe the second night in of the tour, he came up to me. He's like, "Oh, like I don't know how you'd feel about this, but would you want to sing like Further the Sky with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I would."
Yeah.
So
Nice.
we, yeah, we didn't get the chance to do it in Annapolis at Ram's Head, but we did it a few times towards the end of the tour. And I feel like that was a highlight of my, one of, you know, my highlights in my musical journey so far.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the first time in that festival in Jersey, that was the first time you'd even met him or heard his music at all?
Hmm.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Man, I heard about him through the movie The Proposal. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh, um, I don't know if I've seen that, but I've heard of it.
It is, like, my biggest, like, guilty pleasure movie, like, it's, like, one of my
Okay.
favorite, like, Ryan Reynolds movies, but, his his
Well,
his song is in the opening credits of the movie,
oh, wow.
and I
That's
was like,
cool. I'll have to
"Oh
listen
my
to it.
gosh, what is this? This is totally right up my alley," and then I, like, looked it up and found him and then was just in
Very
love with him.
cool.
Yeah, so he's such a great dude too. He's just a really nice guy, so
Yeah, I think that makes like all the difference. Like he's just a very down to earth person and somebody really just nice to talk to, and you know, he's a
mhm.
good person. So,
Yeah. That's cool. Do you think you're gonna hook up with him again if he goes out on the road, or?
Well, we did just co-write. We did a song together. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm excited about that. We have another co-write on the books in March, and there's nothing in the works yet for going back on tour with him, but I wouldn't put it out of the question. You know,
yeah.
hopefully that'll happen again sometime.
That's awesome. That's sweet. All right. So let's talk a little bit about I want to talk a little bit about like back to songwriting, just to discuss a little bit about lyrics versus music, because I think there are people who
Okay.
do both wonderfully well. There are people who like struggle with what to say,
Mhm.
as far as lyrics. What inspires you as a lyricist? Because that tends to be, for me, that's the hardest element.
Right. I feel like when I am thinking about lyrics, I'm like for my own songs, I am writing the lyrics that I feel like are my feelings
Hmm.
and most resonate with me as an artist. I know there's writers that keep the audience in mind when they're writing and all of that stuff, but I feel like the stuff that I feel like is my best material and everything is inspired from just everyday experiences that I've encountered and kind of allowing myself to like be raw and vulnerable in that moment of writing. So I feel like the inspiration pulls from like a lot of different aspects of life, which helps when you're trying to like portray a story in that moment or something. So yeah.
Who are your favorite lyricists? Like, who do you really love listening to their words?
I love listening to Madison Cunningham
Oh,
lately. Yeah, I feel like her lyrics are incredible. I love Nora Jones. I also really enjoy Melody Gardot a lot.
I don't know that
Um,
artist.
yeah, she's cool, very jazz based,
Okay.
which I really love. So yeah, I feel like I also really love Brandi Carlile.
Hmm.
I feel like her lyrics always tell a great story as well.
Okay. Yeah, the whole like kind of school in terms of like Joni and Bob Dylan and like that
Mhm.
whole like vibe
Oh,
is,
Bob Dylan I love too.
yeah, I
He's
mean,
amazing.
it's just sometimes when you listen, that's why I love Dawes, because
Yeah.
Taylor does such a really good job of telling a story and painting a picture and putting the furniture in the room with you,
Mhm.
to make you bring you
Yeah.
there. And I felt like there was several moments that night when I was listening to you that I was like, oh, I could like painted a great picture kind of thing. So it's like you're a
Thank you.
great lyricist. So that's why I was curious. Um, it's hard to do that. It's hard to like bring people with you and like make them aware of the painting, like the picture that you're painting. Um,
Yeah.
but like your lyrics matched with what I was talking about earlier with like the harmony and the chords that you're playing,
Mhm.
and it find of I find that it evoked a lot of emotion, and that's why I immediately was like, I got to go talk to her and get her on my show, because
Yeah.
I love songwriters and I love hearing how people do things, and like if you can create a story that puts me there with you, and it's outside of yourself and you just feel like you're watching a movie almost in a way,
Right.
like even if it's a 3-minute movie, it's like you told the whole story.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you do
I
that really
feel
well.
like Thank you. I feel like it's important to really hone into that moment. Like when you are trying to write lyrics, I overthink a lot in so many different aspects of my life, a constant overthinker. And I feel like even when I sit down and I'm like trying to hash out an idea that I have lyrically, um, I feel like there are times when I tend to like overthink, like, oh, like, is this line, like, doesn't make sense with what I'm trying to say, or, whatever the case is. But I feel like it's also important when you're sharing a song, like, I feel like the overall presentation of it and combination of the music, assists with, like, getting that message and the story out there as well.
Mhm, mhm. I mean, you're kind of following your own muse, because watching you play and everything is definitely evident that you are doing your own homework in a way. Like when you're writing, I'm gathering, because sometimes you do have to put, if you like 2 lyrics, sometimes you gotta put them in a cage and let them fight it out and see who wins sometimes. Um, but I
Yeah,
I love the Rick Rubin quote of that's all over the internet now, about how he was saying, like, I don't the artist shouldn't be writing for the audience, you know,
right.
writing for you, and, like, if it resonates, they'll come along with you kinda thing.
Yeah. I
Uh,
feel like that's never been truer than now, because I feel like the internet puts a lot of pressure on artists, especially like for creating content and trying to maintain this profile online, is tricky to balance when you're also, trying to really nurture the creative space for writing. And um, I forget where I was going with that, but I just feel like it's important, like, to keep in mind that, like, the art you make, it does have to appeal to you, like, and yourself, like, as an artist. So,
and
yeah.
it makes it doubly hard when you're also trying to, like, make a living and make money doing it, and
Yeah.
then, ugh, it's, like, so hard to kind of
Yeah.
separate those 2 things, because it's a business, let's be
Yep.
real, But, well, I think I've put you through the songwriting mill too much. I wanna talk to you about something that maybe you'll be like, "I don't know much about it, but I'll talk about it." But,
Okay.
like, what I found interesting that night, I was like, "How is she standing in those heels, stepping on those pedals?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Man, that is, like, I would be so sketched out." But, like, your
Uh,
your rig sounded awesome. What is your guitar? Is that
Thank
the
you.
guitar that you were playing that night?
This is actually my Eastman guitar.
Okay.
I did I did have this, guitar with me on tour, but my primary guitar that I tour a lot with is my Martin Triple O
Mhm.
guitar. I feel like I've been through a lot with that guitar. I've had it for 7 years now, and it's just I was trying to film a video on top of a mountain in Maine a few years ago, and I, like, fell off. I, like, slipped while on the mountain, and I, like, fell on top of my guitar and, like, broke the whole face of it.
Oh, no.
So, that guitar got fixed, and that's the guitar that you've probably saw me performing with, but it's just, like, my main guitar. Like, I love that guitar, but this guitar is also just as good, the Eastman Parlor. It's a Sunburst Parlor guitar.
Yeah, it looks
But,
cool.
yeah, my guitar rig, I love performing with my pedal board. I feel like every performance that I do, it's just a part of what I do.
Yeah.
Um, my dad actually built that guitar pedal board for me, and I, like, wood burned some designs on the front of it. And, yeah, I've got a LR Baggs, DI on there, the Ditto looper. I have a
Mhm.
Polytune tuner, the Hall of Fame, an MXR pedal, and just it's pretty much, like, simple. Like, I really love the Hall of Fame reverb and the MXR delay. They kinda just add exactly what I want for, like, an ambiance, when performing. So, yeah, it's just a simple little rig, but, it does magic, magical stuff.
It sounds sweet. That's the thing that I was noticing. It's so hard to, like, get a really good acoustic sound in a club sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
it's a little tricky, especially when you're pressed for time, like, with, uh, the engineer or something like that,
yeah.
you know?
I thought that, so when I heard, because I heard you putting on and off different reverbs and stuff,
Mhm.
and it sounded so cool. And then I was like, it's like, does she have like a really cool preamp? Is that LR Bags? Does it have like a preamp built into it too?
Yeah,
Okay.
bags, yep. Yeah,
Okay.
it kinda does a lot, and it really gets, like, a nice overall sound, for any acoustic really, so
It was like fat but super articulate.
yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it. Like it's when I was talking, I had Oliver Wood on and I was talking to him
Okay,
about his acoustic tone because I saw them. They came through Virginia and they played this amphitheater called Wolf Trap, and
okay.
I love the Wood Brothers. So like I've seen them so many times, but like when I had him on, I was like, dude, your acoustic sound, especially outdoors in an amphitheater, was one of the best sounding acoustic sounds I've ever heard in my life. And
Yeah.
that's kinda like how I was feeling about how what you were getting in that room. Now
Thank
that room in Annapolis, that room is like a vaunted venue. Like it always
Yeah,
sounds great in there. But particularly the clarity of your instrument and the marriage of that and the upright and then your voice, everything was sitting so nicely. And this is the
thank
kind of crap that musicians do when they're sitting there. I'm like, "Oh my god, she sounds amazing. Oh my god, so does he. Oh my god, that guitar sounds amazing. Oh my god," you know what I
you.
mean?
Yeah.
So but it's like a
It's
blanket, you know, it feels
it's
nice.
funny because that guitar is, like, the Martin probably will, like, be mad that I'm saying this, but it's the cheapest guitar out there. It's like, it's not $1,000, it's not even $600. I got it for, like, f $400 back in the like, 7 years ago, and, in the guitar world, that's not a lot of money, obviously, to be investing in an instrument. There's some that go, like, way up, and it's just, like, one of those things that I get a lot of compliments on the sound of my guitar, and there people have asked me, like, "Oh, like, why don't you get, like, a really nice, like, wooden guitar and all this stuff?" But there's just, like, part of me that it's not the same. Like, I've gone and played, like, some guitars that are a couple $1,000, but I just don't have that same grip and, like, feeling as my Martin for whatever reason. And it's all, like, it's a spruce top, but I think it's laminate on the back of it, which, like, isn't
Maybe.
great, but it just is, like, one of my favorite guitars, so I don't know.
You make it sound good, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, it's like what people talk about with playing like cheap Strats or whatever. It's like if you it's in your hands. It's like I know
Yeah.
people hate to hear that, but like it really is like this symbiotic relationship between you and the instrument. Have you checked out Maton guitars?
I haven't, no.
They're an
Maiden?
Australian company,
Okay.
but there's a bunch of shops in Nashville that sell
Huh.
'em.
I'll check them out.
There's this dude, I'm sure you know about Tommy Emmanuel, about that guitar
Yes.
player.
Yep.
There's another Australian guy, his name's Joe Robinson. You knew about him?
I don't know him, no.
He used to live in Nashville and he just moved to, I think he moved to like Montana.
Okay.
But he's like when he was a little kid, like he won like one of those America's Got Talent things, playing classical gas, like playing Tommy's version of it, like as a kid.
Okay.
And he's much older now, but like but he plays those and they sound amazing. They have like this kind of Martin-esque type vibe. Like it's almost like I feel like a mix between like Taylor World and Martin in a
Okay.
way.
Yeah.
Um, but I've heard they've got chunky necks. Is the neck on that Martin chunky or is it thin or
It's a thin neck,
okay?
and I think that's, like, my favorite thing about it. I really, as, uh, like, mine's like an auditorium style body, so
Mm-hmm.
it has, like, a thinner, um, build to it. So I really like that because it just lays comfortably, and I like that thin neck. I feel like I'm picky about the thickness of my necks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do enjoy playing nylon guitar, which usually those, like, because they're more of a classical base, they have, like, that thicker neck a little bit.
Mhm.
But if it's too wide of a neck, like I don't gravitate towards like that instrument as, more than a thinner neck.
Right. Do you play electric at all? Like, do you
I
play
do, yeah. I
Okay.
play electric a little bit. From time to time, I'll pull it out, and it is something that I want to introduce more into my performances. Just because of the nature of the tour, I didn't pull out electric, but um, when I have like a show that allows me like a longer set time or something, I usually will bring along the electric and do a couple songs on there too.
Okay.
And I had a custom made guitar in
Oh,
Nashville. And the
I
only
lost you
reason
for
it's
I
for
lost you for a second there.
oh,
What'd
can
you
you hear
what'd
me?
you say?
Oh, I have this PRS custom build guitar that is really awesome. It's a ruby color and has a wooden like outline throughout the guitar. And the only reasons I got it was obviously because it sounded incredible when I plugged it in the shop. But it also has abalone inlay of moons going down the neck.
Oh
So I
man.
feel like as soon as I like realized that, like while I was testing it out, I was like, I have to get this. Like I just can't not.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect.
yeah, so I pull that out from time to time, and I have a Telecaster as well. So
Yeah, I can see you playing a telly. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, nice. Um, hey, tell me a little bit about "Hold Me If I Stay," because this is a new
okay,
song,
yep,
right? You just put it out recently.
yeah. I put it out not too like a few months ago in 2023. "Hold Me If I Stay" is probably one of my most favorite songs that I've written so far. It's probably up there in that ranking. I wrote this a few months in, like after I moved to Nashville. So I feel like "Hold Me If I Stay" stemmed from a place of, uh, tr- trying to discover my space in the world. And um, I feel like with that song, I hope that it inspires people to keep going on their journeys because sometimes it can get a little haywire or a little crazy. But um, yeah, that song kind of came pouring out of me, and I just also wanted to inspire other people to keep going. Like,
Mhm,
I feel like that's the one piece of advice that I've received a lot along my musical journey, to keep going.
mhm.
And I feel like that's kind of the space and mindset that "Hold Me If I Stay" came from.
Where did you record that? Like, in Nashville?
Yeah, I recorded that in Nashville, East Nashville, with the same producer, Dave Klaus, that I worked with in 2019.
Okay.
So
It sounds awesome. Like, sonically,
thank
it
you.
sounds great. It's a great song, but it sounds great too.
Yeah, we did it pretty simple instrumentation to it and production. It was just four of us in the studio. Well, five of us, but four of us played on it. So it kind of has like a nice stripped down vibe to it still, but it has a nice ambiance. I feel like that was a key, like when recording it for me. And I also the recorded version's a little different from how I perform it live. So there will be down the road a live version coming out sometime this year as well.
Nice. When
Yeah.
you go into the studio, do you usually do you try to cut everything live, at least get the bass and the drums captured and then overdubs after that? Or do you try to get everything live, vocals and everything?
I love getting everything live. I feel like that's where you capture the most energy,
Mhm.
at least for me. And we did a little overdubbing on my 2023 releases, but in 2019, we recorded at a really cool studio called Dreamland Recording Studios in upstate New York. And that was like an old church. So we were all spaced out like in different areas of this huge room. But it was cool because we all kind of could see each other, and they had a huge live room where they shielded, the drums, and I'm not a master at drum recording, but did all these really cool things to record the drums in the same room as, like, we had a B3 organ on there and electric guitar, bass. So it was just like a really awesome energy that everybody was like pulled into at the click of the beat. So I feel like those takes were special in those ways because it was a very in the moment process.
Do you like cut into a click, or do you usually not cut to a click?
I feel
Oh, I lost you again, Sahara.
to record to a click.
I lost you again. It
Doing what?
froze.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there you
me?
are. There you are.
You back
Gotcha.
here. I feel like I don't really love cutting to a click. Um, you know, obviously, like, I enjoy the click count-in,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it's a little stressful sometimes, like, but in those live when you are recording live, I feel like it's important to have that click on point because everybody's obviously, you know, on time together, which is important when you're recording live. So, yeah.
Yeah. It is funny though, because there's sometimes where actually my band came down to Nashville and we recorded at the studio, the Wood Brothers studio,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Gabe played on it, played on the
Very
track,
cool.
and Jono Ricks was producing it
Okay.
from the Wood Brothers, and I played piano on that. So I was in the Wood Brothers like storage room where their grand piano is and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, and the bass player and the drummer are out in the main live room, so I can't even see them.
Okay.
And they were like, all right, what's the BPM? And we told them, and we're like, do you want to do it to a click? And I was like, yeah, just in case.
Yeah.
And we did like 3 passes, and Jono was like, hey guys, what do you think if we turn the click off? And I was like,
Huh.
that's fine, we can try it. But I was like, but I can't see them because there's stops and stuff
Right.
in the tune. So I was like, we all better be our internal clocks better be ready. And it was perfect. We did 1 take without the click, and he was like, that's it, you got it. And I was like,
Huh.
really? And he was like, come in and listen to it, man. The feel is
Yeah.
way better. So ever since then, I don't like cutting to a click.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, it just takes a lot of pressure off when you're, like, standing there, especially, like, playing acoustic and singing at the same time or something, like, I don't know. I feel like I have, so much performance experience, so I take a lot of that into the studio, so the click definitely stresses me out a lot.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And there's some drummers that can bury a click and you never hear it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
But then there's also like my buddy BV who's moderating the chat. Thank you, BV. Is just it's like to stop drum bleed. Sometimes you get click bleed in the
Right.
drum mics and stuff too. If because of drummers, if you've got a cowbell, donk, 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 and like that can pick
Yeah.
up. So there's a whole bunch of host of reasons where it's worth it to not do it. But I think, and I mean, I would say I go out on a limb to say it was good that I did it when I was younger
Yeah.
to get my time up, and get used to that whole thing when you go into a studio. But now I'm like,
Right.
who cares? The way our heart beats and the way that music pushes and pulls and the taffy nature of that, it's so much cooler to have that human vibe.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
kinda like a wave, like, if you go off time a tiny bit, it still adds to the overall essence of what you're making.
Right.
So,
And when you play
yeah.
live, when you get to the chorus, sometimes you push it a little bit. We all push the
Right.
beat a little bit. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
how it's going to happen. So that's
Yeah.
fine. All right. So you told me before we went on air, and then we'll get to the lightning round get down, but you told me you got a lot of stuff cooking right now. Can you tell me any of this stuff that's happening in 2024?
Yeah, I am currently working on putting together a live album, from the tour in December. So I'm working on that, and in the meantime, I have been writing a whole bunch, so I'm preparing material to get back into the studio, sometime this year to hopefully have a release, like, of a studio version, later on in the year. I'm still weighing out a lot of details and all, but I can guarantee that I will have a live record coming out at some point.
Okay. Now, when you record down there, like full records and EPs, whatever, singles, whatever you're doing, do you have
Mhm.
specific local players that you like using all the time?
We actually flew in the same team from the East Coast.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so they've been really awesome. And we all kind of just vibe together, like the in the studio and stuff. So it's nice getting to work with them. And the past experiences that I've had in the studio have been with the same team on the record.
Okay. Now, is the hope to go on the road with a full band at some point?
I
Oh no,
have a
I think I
question.
lost you
Are
again.
you are you there?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, there you are.
Um, yeah, it's not out of the question. I feel like I definitely would love to go on tour with a full band. I feel like with that, there is some challenges. Just being able to afford that financially.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
I'm at a place right now where I would love to do that. But if I am going to introduce like a band on the road, it would probably be a trio for now.
Okay. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool. And still using Ray. That's kind of like,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Does he
Yeah, I
teach?
know.
Does he teach in New
Oh,
York? Where does he teach?
he teaches at Rowan University
Oh,
in
okay.
South Jersey, actually. But he
Yeah.
lived in New York for a period of time. I think he studied out there in New York City.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
His tone is so good, and his intonation was. I was really impressed with his intonation. So
Yeah, he's a master at that thing. I wanna say that bass that he has was built in the 1800s. I'm not
nice.
100% sure, but it's, like, super crazy, the story of that bass, so
Yeah.
nothing can happen to that thing.
No.
When we were on tour, we actually had to end up taking 2 separate cars, which was a little crazy, because the bass, it just didn't fit in my tiny car with all of my stuff, and we didn't wanna risk breaking the bridge of the bass.
No, you
So,
don't mess with an 1800 bass.
no.
Like, it's crazy. I gotta show
Definitely.
you when we go off the air. I gotta show you my acoustic because you'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty right." Because it's my grandfather's. It's pre-war.
Ah,
So
that's cool.
yeah, it's
Wow.
cool. It's really cool.
Very
All right, let's do the lightning round get down. But first, I gotta
okay.
do my dad joke. My daughter gave me these for Christmas, and I started doing dad jokes last season, and so she got me these.
Alright.
And this is perfect for you.
Uh-oh.
Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere.
Oh
Boom.
my gosh.
There's some pretty bad ones in here.
That's funny.
This
I
one
feel
is.
like
Oh,
I
go
should
ahead.
take that home for the next holiday. I'll
Yeah.
tell my family about that one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so let me get this. I'm gonna pop on a metronome for some suspense. But what we're
Okay.
gonna do is
Oh, no.
I'm gonna ask you 10 questions. They're rapid
Okay.
fire. If you want, you can explain your answers. You don't have to, but if you want,
Alright.
I'm happy to hear them.
Okay.
The first one is always the same. Lennon or McCartney?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with McCartney on this one.
All right. Spring or fall?
Ah, uh, fall.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Vans or Converse?
Ooh, neither for me, but Vans.
Okay. Would you rather be able to time travel or space travel?
Uh, maybe time travel.
Okay. Taylor or Martin?
Martin.
As far as movie directors go and their films,
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese.
I'm not really good with this realm.
Oh, really?
So
You're not a
I
movie
know
buff?
I know Quarantino or
Quentin Tarantino?
Quentin, yeah, Tarantino.
Let's go with Quentin.
I've heard of him, so I'm gonna go with that.
There we go. Puppies or kittens?
Puppies.
Me too. The band or the Grateful Dead?
Ooh, Grateful Dead,
All right.
probably.
And then here's the last one. Sometimes this is the hardest, sometimes it's the easiest.
Okay.
If you could take one album and erase it from your memory just so you could go back and experience it for the first time again, what
Hmm.
album would that be?
I'm gonna say Feels Like Home, Nora Jones.
Okay, tell me a little bit more why. I
I
know
feel
she's
like
your
I feel like sonically, I I just love that whole album. Well, I guess her, and there's also a song Carnival Town. I love that song on that record. And then there's Natch House that they formerly were. Um, so Mandolin Orange has a couple albums too that I feel like I would love to erase from my memory as well and check them out again.
yeah. There's some records I feel like that are so seminal in our lives that have changed. Like, do you have like when you first time you listened to Nora Jones, was that like, oh wow, North Star kind of thing? Like, did you have like an epiphany moment where you're like, wow, like I want to do that?
Yeah, I feel like mostly I did. Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely, my ear just gravitated straight towards what she has going on, like vocally and all of that. So
Mhm.
I feel like, you know, she definitely is the one that, like, if I could meet, well, I did meet her one day, but if I could collaborate with someone, I would love to collaborate with her
Yeah.
one day.
She seems pretty open to stuff like that, and you should make that
Yeah, it
happen.
seems like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And her touch on the piano is
Mhm.
so delicate, but so profound. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like everything that I've heard her do, and, you know, she's also kinda got those jazz gospel kinda chops that I love with listening to piano players,
Yeah.
but the way that she touches the piano and the way that she gets the chords across underneath her voice, it seems like it's just everything is just perfect. Like,
Yeah.
like, it seems like there's so much thought that goes into it, and there could be no thought as far like, she could just be a genius. And it's just, like, second nature,
Well,
but I love her touch on the piano.
yeah, her former guitar player, Adam Levy,
Mhm.
he's on the early records, and I feel like his guitar playing has inspired me a lot, so, you
He's
know,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. I feel like everything that I've
He
heard that guy
is.
play on, he's just a monster.
Yeah,
Um,
he's great, Bill Frisell, so all of those guys.
oh
Yeah.
god, don't get me started on him. I'm such a nerd, Sahara. I'm just like there's so many it's funny, there's so many, like, styles of music that I love, like, from the, like, the
Mhm.
chillest thing to I don't know if you've ever listened to Wayne Krantz, but he's a
No.
crazy jazz fusion guitar player.
Huh.
Um, and it's, like, unlike anything you'll ever hear in your life.
I'll have to check him out.
And it's not for everyone. I'm gonna say that up front. It is not for everyone. But it's not, like, not for everyone like Megadeth isn't for everyone, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's just a level of intensity, like, the one time I remember seeing when I was going to school in Boston and he came through,
Yeah.
I actually went to interview him for Berkeley,
Huh.
and he's, like, my hero. So that was, like, a gigantic moment in my life, but at that show, there was a song that, like, when they stopped, I realized I wasn't breathing for, like, I don't know how
Oh
long. I
gosh,
was, like, out of breath. I was so, like, "Oh
that's
my
cool.
god." Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, that about him that, is not for everyone.
Alright.
Like, my wife is like, "Turn this off, please. This sounds like noise." And I'm like, "It's not. There's a lot of these musical things that are happening. You're just not paying attention, man." Um,
Yeah.
alright. So let me pop your stuff. So, BV, thank you for moderating the chat as always.
Well, thank you.
Everybody, make sure you check Sahara out. If she comes through your town, go see her. Amazing voice, great songs, great guitar playing. If Ray's on the gig, you'll love that too. Instagram, we got that here.
Awesome.
We got Facebook. We got the old YouTubes.
Yep.
And then people are saying hi, Mark.
Awesome.
And here you go. Is that
Oh, that's my
relative?
mom.
Nice.
Hi, mom.
Austin.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah. So anything else? Any other things to plug or
I feel
coming
like
up?
I feel like you got it all for now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll have, if folks enjoyed the chat, and they'd like to hear more, follow me on social media at Sahara Moon Music, and that's where I'll be announcing more details, for a live record as well. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Can't
Thank
wait.
you so much for having me a part of this today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you could come on. I'm so glad you could make the time. Like I said, I was a huge, huge fan immediately when I saw you playing. What a great show. Like, what a great show to walk into, not know the opener, love the music, and then like another one of your favorite people comes on stage right after. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's so cool. I'm so glad you guys hooked up, and I hope you get to do more of that. So, um,
I'm hopefully, yeah.
I mean, he's so
Awesome.
busy. I mean, too, it's like he's got to be like with Tedeschi Trucks and his own thing, and it's just
Yeah.
he's probably so hard to pin down.
Yeah,
Like
I feel like, yeah, he's a busy guy for sure.
Tedeschi Trucks just seems like they're just forever touring, always.
I feel like that's true. Yeah,
You know?
they're really awesome. They're an incredible band as well.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely nuts. Well, Sahara, thank you again. Hang for a second.
thank you.
Everybody else, thank you so much for dropping in. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.